Hello, guys. So my name is FX Charbonnel. I'm in charge of the sales for Parrot in the Americas. I've been in the drone industry for the past 12 years. We'll be actually talking about who Parrot is, what we've been doing, and what we currently do with our products, and especially with the latest Parrot products, the Anafi USA and the Anafi AI.
Hi everyone, I'm Greg from Pilot Institute. We train drone pilots all over the country.
Hi, my name is Haye from DroneXL, where we cover all the drone news on our website.
Welcome to the latest episode of the PiXL Drone Show, our weekly podcast where we talk to industry professionals about what they do in the UAS space.
From professionals who use drone to fly inspection missions to public safety users or even drone light shows, you will learn on the PiXL Drone Show that drones are much more than just toys.
Well, what's up, Haye?
Hey, how are you, man? How was Flight Fest?
Oh, Flight Fest was a blast. This was our first time over there, but it's amazing to see the amount of kids that go out there and are just spending the entire day building something and then going out to the field right there. It's in the middle of this gigantic empty field in the middle of Ohio. And you turn on this dirt road, and then you eventually get to the field. You park your car, and then they have huge tents. They have two big, I don't even know how big these are. I mean, 50 feet by 50 feet build tent, two of them. They have glue guns and spray paint, and then you get to buy your foam kit or your cardboard kit, and then you build your drone, your fixed wing aircraft or whatever it is that you're building, and then you go out and fly it. And it's just so cool. It's so relaxed. Everybody was super friendly.
So you go ahead, you build, and you fly what you build basically the same day.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Pretty much. And they have little kits. Actually, Ethan is bringing me one of the kits here. It's this is one of the wing. This is their flight test wing. And we actually built one of them on Saturday. We decided to go. It took Jason about 5 hours to build the whole thing with a glue gun and everything. And we wanted to get it ready by at 7 o'clock. So 3 times a day they have what they call combat. And combat, they basically every single drone that you can think of that's out there, I call them drone, but they're really fixed wing aircraft, RC airplanes, goes up at the same time, and they try to hit each other and take each other down. So it's combat. And so you build your thing all day, and then you go and do combat, and you hope to take people out. And it's everything that goes against what we teach people, hitting other aircraft. But it was so much fun, and all of a sudden, I mean, the first time was on Friday when we get there at 2 o'clock, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, there is 200 of them at once just trying to hit each other. And then of course you see them just bam, and foam exploding everywhere, and they're coming down from the ground, and it was just so much fun.
Is there anything else in the country that's similar where people can go to? Because this is in Ohio. No, you don't know of anything else somewhere else?
No, we have something here in Arizona, which is Arizona Drone Fest, but I think they're starting to build up to try to do something similar on the West Coast. But no, as far as I know, that's really the only event, and definitely by far the biggest event. So I mean, Flight Fest is well known, nationwide. Yeah,
it's cool. It's definitely something on my list of events to go to as well. While you were having fun crashing model airplanes, I was watching a movie on Netflix, Hustle, the basketball movie. with Adam Sandler. Awesome movie. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend it. But there's one particular moment in that movie that kind of struck me as odd, but maybe we can ask our guest more about it. At one point they were showing the Parrot Anafi. There's this one scene where they play basketball on a street court, if I remember correctly, and all of a sudden you see somebody starts up this drone, and pretty prominently the Parrot Anafi is being shown, to the point where all right, this is product placement, which struck me as odd because the Parrot Anafi was launched back in 2018 or 19 or something. So it's not like a brand new drone that needs any promotion. If anything, it needs a successor perhaps, but maybe we can ask our guest about that.
Yeah, let's talk about our guest, actually. So we have François-Xavier Charbonnel, who's the sales manager for all of Americas here for Parrot. and he's we met him. I met him a
Yeah.
couple times at several conferences. He's a great guy, tall
Yeah.
guy. You can't miss him from a distance. And so yeah, we'll bring him on the show today and talk about Parrot, talk about the Parrot Anafi AI.
Yeah.
I think this is actually a drone that we've been testing. I have one next to me right here, and I have some questions for Francois. And yeah, so let's bring him on the show.
Let's get started.
All right. Well, our guest is here. Francois, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So let's get started with the first question, which is something that I'm always interested in when we have guests that are involved with drones. Is how did you get involved with drones?
Yes, that's a good question. So it's been actually a while for the industry. I joined Parrot in 2010. So back then I was living in France, and I was very passionate about, and I'm still very passionate about technology. And I had kind of like two fields of industry I wanted to work on. It was whether technology, whether automotive industry, so cars. And Parrot was basically back then in 2010 at the crosspath of these two industries, because Parrot in the past, since Parrot is an old company, Parrot is born in 1994. And for many years, we've been a leader in the automotive market, developing and manufacturing hands-free Bluetooth car kits. And 2010 is the year when Parrot started with the first drone, the first iPhone controlled drone, because the iPhone was out, so we had a support to control the drone, and the drone was controlled with the iPhone with the live video feedback. It was the first drone, consumer drone launched, that was called the AI drone. And so I joined Parrot in 2010, and this is how I started with the drones. To me back then, honestly, it was kind of crazy to see a drone fly. Of course, we are far away from what the drones are today, and so yeah, this is how it all started. So it's been an interesting journey from, and we may discuss this later, but from the consumer also products to the pro products and to where we are at now.
It's interesting, though, right? I mean, Parrot being an automotive company in its origin, going into drones. I mean, I can see that some of the technology probably that they used for their automotive industry might be applicable for drones as well. But why did they venture into the drone industry? Do you know?
So Parrot in his DNA is really about innovation, and we were and we are still experts in signal treatment, voice recognition, and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi technologies. And so we've had automotive products in the past, which is now completely gone. We've sold this part of the business. We've had also a line of products which were entertainment product, like connected devices, headphones. We were the first one having Bluetooth gesture control headphones back in 2009, something like this. We've been the first one having a Bluetooth speaker. So the speakers that you see everywhere today, we were the first one in the market with these. But nobody was really having music on their phones. But we had the speaker. And then, our CEO is very much an innovation person, and so then he really wanted to have something that he's been always passionate about, aviation and things that fly. And so with all the technologies or the patents, etc., that we were having, he's developed the first drone. And since then we've made a lot of progress. The company has evolved to be only today focused in drones. We don't do anything else today.
So drone business is the core business for Parrot right now. Is that correct?
Yes. So Parrot Group has two companies, Parrot Drones, where we develop and manufacture quadcopters. So only drones. And the other company that we own is PiXL photogrammetry software.
Yeah. And the fixed wing drones, are they still part of Parrot or no?
No, but you're correct. We used to have SenseFly. SenseFly used to be one of our companies, and we've sold SenseFly. So
why is
no
that? Why
more
did you
fixed wing
guys?
drones.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not into all these decisions that are made with the company, but the decision has been made to actually focus on quadcopters and the use of them along with tools provided by Pix4D, etc. So, which I think it also makes sense to at some point focus very much on one thing and dig into it. Manufacturing drones at scale, it's not easy. We've been in the game for quite a long time now, and we know it's difficult, to come with innovation and then be able to produce, especially right now with all the challenges we're facing in supply of electronic components, etc. So yeah, the decision has been made to focus on quadcopters for 3 different market verticals. We address defense, public safety, and enterprise. So these are the 3 market verticals we very much focus on. And then, well, Pix4D, I'm not also here to talk about Pix4D. Pix4D has a large suite of products for different verticals. I'm sure you're familiar with them too. So yeah, it's focus.
Yeah, we'll talk about Pix4D a little bit more in a second. A while back, the CEO of Parrot, Henri Sédou, had said that you guys were not going to focus so much on the consumer drone. Is that still the case right now? And if so, is the Anafi AI not a consumer drone?
So that's completely correct. And we very much shifted the company from the consumer business to the professional industrial business. Why? Well, because the consumer business honestly has been a business where it's been largely dominated by one player in a very short amount of time. And also with the consumer market is already decreasing. People don't necessarily buy a drone that often. They may buy one and then keep it for the next 10 years. So when the professional market is very much growing, the usage are being more and more in different type of fields. And then it's not only, well, you know that very well because you both are very experienced in this market, but it's not only the drone, it's actually what you do with the drone. The drone is the tool in the toolbox, and then it's to make this drone compliant with different software, etc. So we very much see the future of the professional drone industry when we think that the consumer business is kind of like the past somehow, or not as active, or yeah.
I hear you.
It's very correct, Greg.
I hear you. I mean,
I understand.
You could argue that that's for the consumer needs. The current lineup of drones pretty much satisfies, I guess, what it is that they're looking for. I mean, drones are nowadays so capable that it's not that expensive to get a drone that pretty much ticks all the boxes, I think, for most consumers. So I understand why you guys focus more on the business side of things. Can you tell us a little bit about how big of a company Parrot now is when it's only focused on drones? And also, as a follow-up question, perhaps where you guys are making the drones? Because, of course, Europe, just like Canada and the United States, is a high-wage area, not like unlike the Far East. So I'm curious about that as well.
Yes. So, and to finish on the consumer shift, I mean, the business shift from consumer to pro, and we'll talk about Anafi AI afterwards, but Anafi AI is a professional product. But of course, people that are doing videography or pictures with drones can use it because of the cameras it carries. Yeah. It's just then a matter of price point. About the company today, so Parrot, we are about altogether about 600 employees. We have offices in Paris. We have offices in Switzerland. So Parrot Drones is in Paris. Pix4D is in Switzerland. We also have offices in the US. Parrot Drones is in Miami, Florida, where I am right now. Pix4D is in Denver, Colorado. So the vast majority of employees, Parrot employees, are actually engineers. It's very much an R&D company because we do everything from A to Z ourselves, meaning we actually, of course, source components. We put the component together, we write all the software, the firmware, everything for it. So it's very much an R&D company. In terms of production, so it's an interesting question because I think COVID had also repercussion for everybody, and we've been always doing all the R&D in Europe, i.e. in Paris or Switzerland, but for Parrot drones in Paris. So all our tech team is in Paris. All our servers where the data and the updates, etc., everything is actually hosted in servers in Europe or in the US. And we have production in Asia and in the USA. So we actually split the production still. But we've we've done a lot of investment in the USA production with the Anafi USA. It's considering the global scheme of things and how the world is changing every day, being Asia or even Middle East and everything we know, you need to be flexible. So this is what we very much work on, is to be flexible on the production capabilities and where we produce.
So is the Anafi USA the only drone right now that's built in the US, or is there others?
It's the only one, yes. It's the only one.
Okay. And then, so is the US the primary market now for Parrot? How does it compare to the European market, for example?
So US is a very important market for us on all the three different verticals I told you about. So defense, public safety, and enterprise. Europe, having said that, Europe is also a big market, especially in defense. We've actually got several contracts for military in Europe. My feeling, because I've been in the US now for 4 years, and my feeling is that the US market is ahead of the European market. Certainly thanks to the legislation and the FAA Part 107 and the fact that there is a clear path for pilots to run a program, operate legally, etc. It's ways in the US because you have one legislation for a big country, when in Europe it's more scattered. And so Europe is growing, but I think it's in public safety enterprise is still, I think the US are still 2 years, 3 years ahead. I think that's my feeling. But having said that, both territories for us, US and Europe, are very important.
Is it easy to design a drone that works for public safety in Europe and also works, especially for the military? You said you have contracts with several military in Europe. Are they the same requirements of what they want to use for drones?
Yes, the requirements are usually the same in terms of capabilities. So in terms of payload and what people want to do with the drone. There is, of course, some requirements that are specific, especially now about the US, because, for example, on the Anafi USA, we have one model, which is the Anafi USA MIL, the military version, which is only used by the US Army because they wanted to have the military radio on it. So this is an example of a specific requirements that has been made for the US, but besides this, it's usually the same requirements in terms of capabilities and payload requirements.
Yeah. So talking about the different models of drones, it was funny. Like the other week, I was watching a movie on Netflix called Hustle with Adam Sandler, and it's a movie about basketball. And all of a sudden, there's this one scene where they're playing basketball on the street courts, and people get excited, and somebody starts up a drone, and the drone is shown pretty prominently, and it's the Parrot Anafi, like the original Parrot Anafi. And I was surprised to see that because it was clear product placement, but the Parrot Anafi came out a few years ago. So I was wondering, how did it end up in that movie? I don't know if you were aware of it, and also. Are we going to see another Parrot Anafi? Like, is there going to be a successor to that particular drone, or is that already the Parrot Anafi AI?
So I didn't know about that. I didn't know about this particular movie using an Anafi. And pretty often, I see our products being used in different movies or even series, and I wasn't aware of it. So it's just that people pick up a drone and put it in their scenario, whatever.
Yeah.
On the Anafi story, so Anafi is basically the name of a range of products. We've started in 2018 with the Anafi 4K. Yeah. In 2019, we had the Anafi Thermal. Then we had the Anafi USA and the different flavors of the Anafi USA, being the Anafi USA regular, the Gov, and the Meal. So there is 3 SKUs within the Anafi USA model, and then the Anafi AI. So to your question, will we have a future Anafi? Yes, most probably. But they will. I mean, as I said, now Parrot is doing professional drones, so you can expect Parrot to very much play in the professional drone area more than the consumer drone. Anafi 4K was very much a consumer drone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. Let's talk about the AI. We actually just received one from one of our customers. They wanted us to create a course for it because they use it a lot. And I've been flying it, and I flew it with you when we were in Texas, and I was really impressed with the way that it was flying. And having it in hand now, I'm even more impressed. Now, I do want to talk about this obstacle avoidance magic that you guys are doing with this thing. So I have it right here. First off, it is pretty big, and it looks nothing like any other drone you've ever seen. It's and you can maybe talk about the design of this. We talked about this in Texas a little bit, and maybe you can discuss how this became to be. But the obstacle avoidance system is interesting because the obstacle sensors are right here, and they rotate as the drone goes into different positions. So as the drone goes up, this will go up and record things up, and then as it goes down, then it's going to rotate. So the entire time you can see this thing kind of twitching as the position of the drone changes, which is unique. But what I was really impressed with is it looked like, to me, it was building a 3D model of the area that you're flying into. And even though it doesn't have side sensors, at some point it will prevent you from going sideways because it knows something is right there, because it built, it looked like a 3D model. So can you confirm that this is what it's doing, and maybe explain a little bit more about this?
Yes. So on the design, I mean, you were talking about the design, and in fact, the drone looks like this very much because of all the imaging system we have here with the different cameras. This is the main camera. We'll talk about the specs afterwards, but this main camera is completely independent from the obstacle avoidance system. The obstacle avoidance system is 2 stereoscopic camera, very wide angle, mounted on a pitch axis gimbal. So it's only on the pitch axis here. And as you said, these 2 cameras are always running and looking in the same direction as the drone. So when you move forward, the camera will look forward, upward, backward, etc. So it's kind of unique because the first time you fly the drone, you don't really understand why these cameras are moving all the time when the other one keeps looking at what you're looking at. And in fact, it's because we created a system where we could do all around obstacle avoidance with just a pitch axis gimbal, because this is how we do it. The camera will look in the same direction as the drone. And we, in fact, use these 2 cameras to recreate the 3D environment in live. And so when the drone is moving, it's going to sense and avoid and also learn about the environment in order to navigate. And Greg, you've been using the product, but so there is something that you can actually try in FreeFlight 7, which is the app we use to control the product. In the settings, you know, when you fly the product with FreeFlight 7 on an iPad, for example, On the top of the screen, you have the live video feed, so what the drone is looking at. And on the bottom part of the screen, you have the map, where your drone is on the map. You can change this in the settings and go from the map to the 3D model of the cameras. And so you can actually see exactly what these cameras see and how they map the environment.
Okay, I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy seeing this. And so it's exactly what you're describing. It's actually that we're mapping the environment in order for the drone to sense and avoid.
Yeah, it's funny because I was flying in an area right behind our office here where we do all the drone testing. We have, there's a big container, and I was flying towards it, trying to do the obstacle avoidance where the drone actually climbs up or goes to the side to try to avoid an obstacle. And I did that forward, backwards, and making sure, it was doing its job. And then all of a sudden I went sideways and got a little bit close to it, and it wouldn't let me do it. And then I looked, I said, the drone doesn't have any sight sensors. How in the world does it know that there's something there? And then I tried it under different angles. And I said, the only way that it's possible is if it builds an actual model of the area. So then we tested it. One of our employees took a big piece of cardboard and held it in front of the drone. Sure enough, it knew that there was an obstacle. It stopped. I tried to go sideways onto it. It wouldn't let me do it. And then he left. And then I oriented the drone towards it. It knew that nothing was there anymore. Then it would let me do it. So I was just very, very impressed, because I don't think I've ever seen any drone do this kind of thing where it builds a 3D model. But now I'm excited because I can see exactly what it does, and I'll definitely be including that into the course that we did. So yeah, thanks for clarifying that. That's really, really cool.
Talking about the obstacle avoidance when you go sideways, it's actually pretty interesting because we have a mode which is the cameraman mode in Free Flight 7. So basically what this does, is that you're going to click on something that the main camera see, and then the drone will lock the target and keep this object or person at the center of the picture. Okay. And so you will still be able to control the pitch and roll, but not anymore the yaw and the gimbal pitch. Okay. So gimbal pitch and yaw are fixed on what the camera is looking at, and you can over control the roll and the pitch. And so when you do an orbit and you have the obstacle avoidance activated, basically your object is here. The drone will do the orbit. Usually the drone will do the orbit like this, just turn around it. But with the obstacle avoidance system here, the drone will adapt a crab mode like this in order to make sure it can map the surroundings, because the obstacle avoidance is activated. And so when you look at the drone flying like this, you feel like it's kind of uncommon. You're like, what the hell is going on with this drone? Like, is it Daisy? Is it, what it's very unusual. And this is because of how we do the obstacle avoidance with these two cameras, the stereoscopic cameras mounted on the pitch axis gimbal.
So going back to Greg's example of that container that the drone knew was there, even though it had seen it before, like how long does the drone keep a memory of that 3D map? If the flight time is, let's say, 20, 30 minutes and you fly in that same area, you come back 15 minutes later, does the drone still know that there's a container right there?
So I don't want to give you wrong information about that. The way I understand it, but to be actually confirmed, is that at least during the flight session, all the information about this flight will be stored locally, so the drone knows. Will it store it for the next flights if you come back to the same location? I'm not sure. It's something we need to double check, but it's actually a very good question.
I didn't mean in a new flight. I meant in the same flight. So if you fly, let's say, in that parking lot, there's a container, you have a flight time of, 20 minutes, let's say, and you fly around, and in the first minutes, the drone sees that container and you fly further, and 10 minutes later, in the same flight, you come back to that same spot. Does it still know that there's a container there?
Yes.
That's awesome. Because
in the same... in the same place.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool because we now get to see different drone makers coming up with different technologies, I guess, when it comes to obstacle avoidance, and comparing the Parrot and Anafi with the Skydio drone. The Skydio has a real-time obstacle avoidance where it sees a 3D map, but I don't think Skydio stores any of that information. I think the way that they work is they have cameras in all directions so that they can see everything around the drone at all times. But the downside is you need more cameras. Whereas with the Anafi AI, you basically have 2 obstacle avoidance cameras, which would save you on weight, would save you on cost, would save you on the power requirements for the drone. Are those the benefits? Is that why Parrot built the drone this way?
Yeah, yes, and it was part of the reflection also, and it was very much inspired by nature. Meaning, birds, insects, they see all around. They're able to avoid obstacles, and they don't have eyes all around them. It's because actually they move their head, and so they're actually able to see around thanks to the movement of their head, and so it's exactly what we've done here. So yes, you're right. It's very much inspired by nature, and we've tried to reduce the amount of cameras everywhere. And then of course there is optimization that you do when you have less cameras. It's less processing power on this side of things, but then we have also a lot of processing power that is consumed with the 4G because we have a modem in the drone. So it's, at the end of the day, well, you guys know that, but it's a balance between the power you consume on one side and on the other side, and the weight and the battery and the flight time. All of this is together. I mean, it's the first time there is a drone with a 4G modem in it. And of course, a modem does consume energy. We have a SIM card slot in the drone, so you actually put the SIM card directly in the drone to connect it to the carrier network. And this is also very, very much an industry first. So it's a balance of how you do all these things together.
Follow-up question right away, since you mentioned a 4G modem. Is the 4G modem, is that for beyond visual line of sight so that the drone can fly further, or is that getting ready for remote ID? Or both?
So the 4G, why did we put 4G in it? We've put 4G in it to offer a very robust and solid link between the ground station and the drone in all circumstances, as long as you have 4G. And if you don't have 4G, it's not a big deal because you have Wi-Fi. So how does it work? As soon as you start the drone will automatically establish both connections, the Wi-Fi and the 4G. If you are in auto mode, every 100 milliseconds, the drone will scan the environment is in and select Wi-Fi or 4G. So for the Wi-Fi, you know how it works. It's just Wi-Fi antenna on the controller and Wi-Fi antenna on the drone. For the 4G, we have a SIM card in the drone that is connected to the network, and for the controller, we use, for example, an iPhone or an iPad with a SIM card in it, and the device gives the connection to the controller, and so the controller is connected to the 4G and the drone is connected to the 4G, and so we can do we can do operation in a very busy environment like a city. I've got some fire department that reach out to me from very busy city, and they're very happy to know that at all time they can rely on the network, because in a city the 4G is very strong. However, because of the towers, etc., a Wi-Fi link or RF link can be a bit tricky. We can do BVLOS, extended visual line of sight operation. And to your question, yes, we can do BVLOS. We're BVLOS ready, because that could be. So hey, you say you're in New York. And Greg, you are in another part of the
Arizona.
US, Arizona. Mm-hmm. I could be here with my controller taking off an Anafi AI that is with you guys from here. So we can do BVLOS operation. Now, of course, I want to be careful. People are listening. There is a lot of legislation. BVLOS is, and you guys very much know that. So there is waivers, etc. BVLOS is becoming. I really believe it's the future, but for now, there is a regulation and limitation. Also, one of the advantage of having 4G on the drone is that you connect it to internet. So you can, well, today, one use that we can tell you about is that we have the drone, well, with FreeFlight 7, we log in with Pix4D Cloud. And so you can send the images directly from the drone to the cloud while on flight or even after the flight, because sometimes 30 minutes to send a large amount of images is not enough. So, so that's an example. And then you can think about a lot of different things that can be done with a drone connected to internet. I mean, it opens a lot of different options. Yeah, so that's about it with 4G. 4G is very much an industry first. We're paving the way on this. It's very interesting, but the sensation, I don't know, Greg, did you fly with the 4G on the Anafi AI?
No, we don't have the 4G, unfortunately, with ours, but it would be interesting to see actually the difference between the two.
You just need a SIM card, huh? It's very easy.
Yeah.
So maybe you should experience
I'll see if we can set it up.
Yeah.
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 So who's the I was going to say who's the target market for the Anafi AI? Who do you want to sell this drone to?
So the drone has been designed very much with enterprise customers in mind. So which is inspection, mapping, construction. The good thing also with Anafi AI is that, you know, with an Anafi USA, for example, you have to switch between FreeFlight 6 and Pix4D capture to do all your photogrammetry flight plan. With Anafi AI, we've merged everything in one app. So it's very easy to do a photogrammetry mission with Anafi AI. You, of course, have the different options, which are orbit, single flight plan, double grid. And we've put another option. I don't know if you've tried this one, which is one-click mapping. So basically, we have a map. We have the buildings. You click on one building. Automatically, the flight plan is established in the app, and you just have to confirm the height of the building, and the drone will fly automatically and do the photogrammetry mission. So back to your question, the drone has very much been designed for inspection, mapping, construction, etc. However, it's also a very good drone for public safety. And we were talking about 4G capabilities. If you think about it, because this is a topic that is growing, DFR, drone as a first responder. If you think about it today, DFR programs are actually built with a drone, but with a software in between in order to operate the drone remotely. So the ground control station is having an app, and so then going through the cloud, etc. With Anafi AI, you can do this right away, potentially, because the drone is connected to 4G and you can control it wherever you are. So that's one example for public safety, and we're actively working on DFR with one of our training partners that you know very well. They were actually, well, the last PiXL show I've watched was with Matt from Skyfire. So Skyfire is one of our partners for training, and we work with them on the DFR topic. So yes, enterprise use, but also public safety use. Mapping, a lot of public safety folks use mapping for accidents in reconstruction, these type of things where they need a map to be created very quickly. So you can set up your photogrammetry mission, fly and then process in a offline or online solution. Pix4D React, I really like Pix4D React. I think it's a great solution. So Anafi AI is also a very good product for public safety, as long as you don't need thermal, because it doesn't have thermal. So that's only RGB.
I was just taking a quick look at the spec sheet for the Parrot Anafi AI, and I was wondering, because especially when it comes to photogrammetry and mapping, a lot of people still swear by the DJI Phantom 4 because it has a mechanical shutter. And it allows you to map faster, basically, because you can fly the drone faster and still get accurate and detailed photos. I noticed that the Parrot Anafi AI has a global shutter. Was that done on purpose to make the drone more specific and better suited for mapping missions?
Yeah, it's always funny when you compare specs like side by side. In fact, you really it's interesting also to see it flying. For example, so the camera that we have is a half-inch 48 megapixel. When on the Phantom 4, for example, it's a 1-inch 20 megapixel. And so we fly and map twice faster with an Anafi AI with the rolling shutter. So the drone doesn't stop. It's actually flying and taking the imagery at the same time. And we achieve a very high GSD with the camera that we have compared to the same flight plan you would have done at the same altitude with a Phantom 4. We've published some, I'll send you the details, but we've published some comparison side by side between both drones. But so again, it's not so much on what exactly are the specs of each part, etc. It's how you put them together and you do the job. Greg, did you do some photogrammetry with the AI yet?
It's on our list to do this week. We got a drone last week, then we had to leave on the trip. So it's definitely on our list to do the one touch. I saw that in the option, and it's coming. We'll be testing that out and having fun with it.
Okay.
So
okay, cool.
You mentioned earlier in our conversation that you guys no longer have fixed wing drones and you focus on quadcopters. Which surprises me somewhat, because if you look at the Parrot Anafi AI and you see the mapping capabilities of that drone, specifically the camera, basically, isn't that something you would want on a fixed wing drone if you want to map larger areas, let's say in terms of, I don't know, agriculture or in case of a disaster, and you have, rather than just one building, but you want to be able to map a large area, having a camera like that on a fixed wing drone, wouldn't that be like the ideal combination, or?
I mean, you're right. If you wanna map very large areas, the fixed wing is the right way to go. Now, what we're doing, I mean, we very much believe this is something you will always see, or you can actually relate when you look at all the Parrot products that we've done. We very much believe in a lightweight portable drone. We don't have any industrial big drones, or so. We believe that tomorrow the drone will be like your smartphone. You're going to be having a drone that is very, very capable, but small and easy to deploy and fast to deploy. So along with this philosophy, quadcopters make more sense to us than fixed wing. But yeah, depending on the use case. And you're talking about agriculture. We've been very active in the past in agriculture. In fact, MicroSense, the multispectral sensor products was our company. We've also sold MicroSense because, again, like at some point, like today, we focus on professional drones, and the primary market we target are defense, public safety, and enterprise. Can you do agriculture? With an Anafi AI? Yes, sure, you can. Is it the best product to do agriculture? Not necessarily, because you may want a multispectral sensor. There is. I mean, I'm sure you would agree on that. There is no drone that suits it all. We try to have products as versatile as they can be, because we think it's important for people to be able to do the maximum things they can. But still, I usually have the question, because on Anafi USA is a BlueUAS US, and there is no indoor drone today in the BlueUAS US list. So I often have the question, can I use my Anafi USA indoor? Yes, you can, because the product work in a GPS denied environment, because we have a stabilization system like on the Anafi that you have with the ultrasound sensor and the VCAM. Is it an indoor drone? No, it's not an indoor drone. It's not an indoor drone that like all the brands are really like focusing on. But you can use it in an indoor scenario. So it's where the boundaries are sometimes in terms of use and product capabilities. But so that's where we are with Anafi AI. Very much designed for Anafi, for inspection, mapping, and also public safety.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense to have a drone that has a purpose, and you can't, like you said, you can't make a drone that's going to do everything. So people need to know what they're buying and what they're limited to, or if that's the application for them. So let's talk about Pix4D. We brought that up several times. What does Pix4D bring to the brand with Parrot?
So the two companies operate independently. However, because we're part of the same family, we're very much integrated with Pix4D suite of products, which means, for example, that with any Parrot products in the current range, Anafi USA or Anafi AI, all the data that you're gathering from the drone can be processed in the different Pix4D products, i.e. Pix4D React or Pix4D Cloud or Pix4D Mapper. With Anafi AI, we've pushed the boundaries a little bit more with Pix4D and the integration. Pix4D is integrated in FreeFlight 7 because your FreeFlight 7 account, well, your app is connected to the Pix4D cloud directly, so you can send the data directly. And also Anafi AI is fully compatible with Pix4D Scan and Pix4D Inspect, which is the dedicated tool for telecom tower, tower inspection, especially telecom tower. So to get back to your question, because we're part of the family, the integration is always very much done. We're very close in terms of integration. However, Pix4D is our company, but it's a philosophy across the board for Parrot. Since we've started with drones, our SDK is open. Our software development kit is open. We very much believe in the ecosystem, and we very much believe in letting people access our product to develop or to run their own app or software. So SDK is a big topic for us, and Anafi AI is actually we allow the access to the ground SDK. So basically, you have an app, you want to communicate with the product, but we also allow the developers to code directly on the platform, directly on the drone. So yeah, we very much push the boundaries also on SDK.
So if you're in the first responder community or you are a commercial drone operator, why should people buy the Parrot Anafi AI versus any other drone? Like what's the sales pitch? What are the specs and the price that should convince people to get this drone instead?
Well, I would say first the 4G. Yeah. Honestly, experiencing the flight with the 4G robustness in terms of signal, and you just know that whatever happens, you will have connection, whether in Wi-Fi, whether in 4G, but it gives you a lot of different, it's a peace of mind. So the 4G is very much in terms of connection, and also in terms of how the product will evolve, because now that we have 4G, we can take a bet here, but I'm pretty sure that we will see a lot of drones with 4G in the future. However, it's very complicated to do, and this is why it takes time. But 4G, 5G is, I think, the future. So that's the first point I think that people need to take into consideration. Then it's the overall capability of the product with the imaging system that we have, the camera at 48 megapixel half-inch, the obstacle avoidance. I also think that the interface, the FreeFlight 7 app, is very easy to use, has a lot of different options in terms of missions. So we discussed about the photogrammetry. We have the cameraman mode. We have the touch and fly. So you just click on the map, the drone goes there. We have the vehicle mode. So the vehicle mode will allow you to take off and land from a moving vehicle with the product. So this is very unique. We've been working on this for a long time. We also have the capability on Anafi USA with a company called Plank Aerosystem in San Diego. They are experts in takeoff and landing from moving vehicles, and we work very closely with Plank. But so, it's all these things together: the 4G, the obstacle avoidance, the imaging capabilities, and then how we've put everything together within FreeFlight 7 that make this product very, very interesting and very
Yeah, no,
unique.
I think it's. I haven't flown it yet, and I haven't had it in my hands yet. But based on the specs and based on what I heard from Greg, I think the Anafi AI is groundbreaking in many ways. You mentioned 4G, 5G. Do you think that if we look into the future a little bit, that's how drones are going to be controlled through those networks rather than Wi-Fi or radio transmission?
I think there is a bright future for 4G, 5G in drones. Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
I do think so.
Switching gears a little bit, BlueUAS. We spoke about it a little earlier in the show. Can you share with us what it took for Parrot to become a part of that program and how to get their drones approved by the US government?
Yes. So what happened with the BlueUAS or the Anafi USA? In 2019, the US government was concerned about security on all the small SUAS that were flying in the United States. So they wanted to have companies to develop a product that was very secured and that was passing their stringent process in terms of security and cyber vulnerability, etc. So as a result, they've put a program together that was called the SRR program, the Short Range Recognition Program, where they've selected, back then it was six companies. Where they actually funded based on, of course, the steps of development and the progress in order to achieve and have a small drone with some specs. So a good RGB camera, a good thermal camera, etc. That would allow them to do reconnaissance missions in this program. At the end of this program, only one won, but since they've actually invested money in the different drones that were also good platforms, they've decided to put together these drones and put the BlueUAS program. So the BlueUAS list 1.0, the first 5 or 6 approved, is actually the result of the short range recognition program. In terms of what it took us to be a BlueUAS, well, it's been a lot of work. Of course, we had to go through the very stringent process of having all our firmware, software audited and vetted by the different entities, the communication between the ground control station and the platform, where the data, if any, is stored. And again, you know, what is important in this is not really much about, when we talk about the data and where the data goes, we're not talking about the videos or the pictures. We're talking about the telemetry. It doesn't really matter to have pictures and videos of the land, etc. However, if you know where a pilot is and where the drone is, this is a big topic, and we've seen this in recent conflict in Europe using drones. So anyway, so we've had all this process, and then also it was to make it in America, to make it in the United States. So the Anafi USA is assembled in Boston, well, next to Boston. Of course, it has been a lot of challenges. I mean, even if we've been manufacturing drone for quite a long time, manufacturing in a new country is always a challenge. It was during the pandemic. So as a reminder, we had travel bans between Europe and the US, so we couldn't fly engineers. I mean, it's been a big topic, but the result is here. And so as a result, today, Anafi USA, we have 3 drones in the range, the Anafi USA regular, which is not BlueUAS, because we have the Sky Controller 3 being used, the Sky Controller that you've been using on the Anafi 4K. And so you have to put your own device on this controller. In order to be Blue, for example, you need to have a built-in screen. So Anafi USA regular is made in USA, but not NDA TA. And then we have the Anafi USA Gov, as for government, and the Anafi USA MIL, as for military. And these two are fully NDA TA compliant and approved on the Blue list.
So I have somewhat of a difficult question, and I'm gonna tell you what I think about the UAS, the BlueUAS program, and then I want you to tell me why I shouldn't think about it this way, but or maybe that my approach is correct. But the way I look at the BlueUAS program, it has limited the availability of certain types of drone. And I know we have version 2.0 now with more drones that have been approved, but why can't the BlueUAS program be simply a list of specs that have to be met and that any manufacturer in the world, regardless of country of origin, can apply as long as they meet those requirements? And, going back to what you just said, you said, we had to prove to the US government that our drone was secure and this and that. Why can't any drone manufacturer from any country in the world do the same thing and prove that their drone meets those requirements? At which point, why should we turn them down and make it available to our soldiers or to the people that need them in public safety world?
It's in fact a difficult question because I may not be the best person to answer it. Maybe it's a question for the government or the DIU office, but I'll try to give you my point of view. I agree with you somehow that the country of origin is not what necessarily matter. What necessarily matter is how the drone is built in terms of software and firmware. How is everything secured in the communication with the drone, where the telemetry data is stored, and also, I believe, how the manufacturer, the company is funded or is owned, etc. Because you want to have, you want to make sure that there is no government involved in a drone manufacturer, I believe. Otherwise, it kind of it's a difficult position. Now, because we have the example, for example, if you think about a battery, under BlueUAS and the NDAA, you cannot have a battery manufactured in certain country. But it's also very difficult to find batteries in other territories. I mean, and is a battery very dangerous as such if it doesn't send data? If it's just giving power locally, not necessarily. So
exactly.
So I mean, this is really much my point of view. We know that there is potentially security threats with the data and with where the data is going, if the data leak, etc. Yes. Is it fully related to where the drone is put together or where the components are made? Not necessarily, but we need to be very careful in what we take in there. Like there is very important things that need to be secured. For example, on Anafi AI, we work with a company called WiseKey in Switzerland, and this company produce component that, and we have one in Anafi AI that act as a safe. So basically, this component will have all the encryption data, all the security code, all the keys, in order for the drone to be secured, and it act as a safe on the drone, so we know that it cannot be tampered. And this is very important. This company is in Switzerland, but it's what they do that is important. So that's my answer to your question. But again, I'm not the government. I don't know.
We should get somebody from the government. We should get somebody from the government on the show,
is
Greg.
good.
I think we need to work on that.
Oh,
Department of Defense, Homeland Security.
Let's do that.
Question I had for you. We first had BlueUAS 1.0. Now we have 2.0. We have new drones being added to the list. I think that's awesome. Do you know if the US government has fine-tuned and perhaps improved the requirements that companies need to meet for their drones to be BlueUAS, or is that list still the same?
My understanding of the topic is that they've done the BlueUAS 2 because they wanted to add new capabilities to what they were already having. Because if you look at the products that have been approved, One is a fixed wing. We know it. We know it pretty well. It's the Sensefly EV. Another one is a large platform. I think it's FreeFly or something. Yeah. I think it's this one. Oh, there is Wingtroll, so another fixed wing. So basically, they want to enlarge. They want to make. They want to increase the capabilities of the BlueUAS US in order for people to pick and choose depending on their use case. Back to what we were saying, if they want to, I don't know, map a large area, they may need a fixed wing. Well, now they have a fixed wing. And I also think that, when we think about the BlueUAS US program that is run by the DIU, it's something recent and it's getting better as it goes. The first version was built on the SRR. They found that this was very useful, and now they're building the next list. And I'm sure that at some point they will have requirements, and it's going to be a checklist where you tick the boxes or you don't. And so it's going to potentially be easier for some companies to have their product listed on BlueUAS US. However, I think that, again, all the security topic and potentially also the country of origin or the final assembly, etc., may very much remain a key differentiator for.
Is there anything similar happening in Europe? I mean, Europe, of course, is more fragmented with all the different countries and governments. But is there like a European BlueUAS US initiative, or not at all?
Not that I'm aware of. You say it right. I mean, Europe is very much more fragmented. I think some countries, and again, I'm French and I'm European, but it's been quite a long time I left France, so I'm more aware of what's going on here in the US than Europe for sure. We see rising in some countries the concerns around security and data protection, etc. And as a matter of fact, if you think about it, Europe already has a certification for companies that respect the data privacy, which is called the GDPR, General Data Regulation Protection. We are approved under GDPR as Parrot. So Europe is trying to put all this together now, specifically for drones. Not that I'm aware of, at least.
Let's talk about the COVID effect and the chip shortage. I'm sure you're still feeling the pinch, as many other manufacturers are. Anything that you had to do differently that, and are we seeing the end of that chip shortage anytime soon?
From what I know, because I'm not in the procurement, but from what I know, it's been a challenge. It's the chip. It's some other parts. I mean, it's always something different. It's the first time we face a situation that hard, and we've been, again, I mean, manufacturing drone at scale is not easy, and we've been in the game for a long time. So we know, and so we usually use to manufacture large volume without any problem. So we had to face a new challenge with the COVID situation. What it has changed is that we need to plan much more ahead for our needs and for our procurement. So now, currently, we are actually planning for procurement of components in 2024 already, in 2022, which is not something we used to do before. So this is the big difference, I feel like.
That makes sense. I would love to know what you guys are planning for 2024. Maybe we can talk about that in a minute. Well, I was hoping you were going to say something, perhaps. No. Back in April 2019, one of the best-known monuments, tourist attractions in Europe, especially in France, the Notre Dame in Paris, caught on fire and burned pretty badly. I know that drones played a critical role in saving that monument. Can you talk to us perhaps about what happened, and also how much of a increase in awareness of how drones can be useful for society that must have been in France?
Yes, I can relate on that because I'm French and Notre Dame used to be not very far from me when I was living in Paris. But I mean, the use of the drones that they've done there is not really different from the use of drone that we see all the time from fire departments in the US. Basically, what was very convenient for them was to have a drone equipped with dual camera, an RGB camera, and the thermal imagery to go and see through smoke, which we know is a prime use of the thermal imagery on a drone, and so they could actually monitor the fire as a whole, where it was expanding, plus give details on where the hotspots were and where the fire department needed to focus. So that's about it, about the use that they've had, which is a typical fire scenario used by a fire department with a dual capability drone, RGB plus thermal. About the awareness of drones in France, it's difficult for me to comment. Yes, I think people may have seen the use of it. And my feeling with France, I don't know. Again, it's difficult because I don't fly too much and I'm not there too much. But I'm going to give you a fun example. Last time I was actually flying one of our drones in France, in a small city west of France, and I was flying from my own garden above my own house. So I was within my property. Suddenly, a neighbor came. And he was very worried that I was grabbing videos and pictures because even if I was above my house, I could see his house, I could see his garden, etc. So I think the privacy topic and is very, very strong in at least in France and maybe also in Europe. And so that's why regulation, certification, pilot license is so important. And that's why also I think that in the US we have progressed much more because we gave a framework on all this. Also education. People now, a lot of people know about drones. They used to see drones. I see a lot of drones in the US. I see a lot of people flying just for leisure in Miami on the beach with their drones. I mean, I see them everywhere. In France, you don't see that many people flying their drones on the beach. So it certainly played a role in showing the good things a drone can do when you see an example like Notre Dame. But still, I think there is a lot to do in Europe to educate people and show them all the good things you can do with drone in a secured manner.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, on our shows and also when it comes to drone news, a lot of times it seems that people know about drones because their cousin got one for Christmas, or there's some horror story that somehow involves the drone and the drone is the bad guy. And I think it's important to educate people and show them the different ways in which drones can be used for good. And I think in the case of the Notre Dame, that was very clear. We've had a case here with Surfside, the condominium towers in Florida that collapsed, and drones played a crucial role basically in documenting and monitoring that site. So I think it's good to get those stories to the foreground and tell people like, hey, drones are much more than just a toy, and they're being used to save lives and to prevent accidents. Going back to Parrot, can you tell us what's next? I mean, the Parrot Anafi AI, I think, came out about a year ago. You're already working on things for 2024. Where is the future headed when it comes to the Parrot drones? Like, what can we expect next from you guys?
Yeah, so I will not disclose anything here, and it's even information that I don't have. So I don't even know what, we're working on a lot of things. And what is sure is that, well, Anafi AI, so you're right, we actually announced it a year ago, but in fact, it came to market. We had the first units shipped beginning of this year. What you can expect is for Parrot to continue to be a professional drone manufacturer, to be very present in the three verticals that we've just described, so defense, public safety, and enterprise. To continue pushing the boundaries of innovation, like we've done with the 4G, and try to make the product more easy to use, but also more solid and with more options in what you can do and how you do it. And it's a very important thing, secure, because this is a key pillar for us. It's the security with the way we do things. So that's how you will see Parrot evolve in the future. It's and with portable platforms. I mean, in terms of form factor, we very much believe in portable drones. So yeah, that's
appreciate
all the
it. Thank
information
you.
I have for you now.
A little bit.
Hi, I was looking for the scoop. Our last question is always the same for all of our guests. So, and this is always the tough one. What is your favorite drone to fly?
It's a tough one for sure, because they all have pros and cons. In the actual range that we are having, I really like the AI, and this is why I was telling you about the 4G. It's once you've tested it and you've seen the robustness of the link, etc. It's very interesting, and it's kind of very exciting. However, a drone that I really liked also from Parrot was the Disco.
Fixed wing.
The Parrot Disco.
Yeah.
It was the fixed wing that we've made. Yes. But it was a fixed wing that you were flying manually. So it's not a fixed wing that you use for mapping where you have a flight plan established. It's a fixed wing that you could fly manually with FPV glasses. It was super innovative at this time. Was it ready? Were the customers ready for it? I'm not sure, because it was very futuristic somehow. But I used to live in the Middle East. I used to live in the United Arab Emirates, and I was having a lot of fun flying this fixed wing drone manually with FPV in between the sand dunes. That was a lot of fun. So this was a cool
favorite drone.
Also.
I love it. I think it's cool.
Well, well, Francois, thanks a lot for your time today. It's been very insightful. We're glad that you joined us, and this will be going live on Tuesday. And for all of our followers, we have a little message coming up for you.
Okay, thank you very much, Greg and Hey, and let me know if you have any question when using the Anafi AI. I'm here to help.
Yeah.
And, thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for joining us on the show. Greg.